In the eastern reaches of the Canadian Arctic lies a vast wilderness of water, rock, and earth. The rolling tundra can seem barren, but jewel-like plants blossom. Prehistoric animals roam. Life thrives in hidden places. The purest freshwater flows in torrents. As summer ends, creatures fatten for winter. The days grow shorter, the nights longer. Fall on the tundra is fleeting. The land and sea will soon be frozen. This is Nunavik, a testing ground for survival. Nunavik, meaning great land in Inuktitut, is bigger than California. A pristine wilderness of water, forest, and tundra. On the shores of Ungava Bay, the long summer days are coming to an end. The tundra colors are darkening. But the ptarmigan is beginning to whiten for winter. Local Inuit harvest the fruit of the meadows. And search shorelines for the fruits of the sea. Some of the world's highest tides sweep through Ungava Bay, driving mighty icebergs to the end of their journey aground in these shallow waters. As the nights darken, the northern lights become vivid. The muskoxen's coats grow thicker, preparing for winter. For now, they graze with ease. Soon they must dig beneath snow. The young calves are 4 to 5 months old. They were born early enough in the year to fatten up before facing their first Arctic winter. Within a week of birth, they could nibble tender shoots of grass, but they won't be weaned for another year or so. A startled calf will hide in its mother's long wool skirt and will shelter there for warmth in winter. It's still summer's end, with swarming bugs to pester them. This calf has learned to find relief by scratching against a rock. Musk oxen have grazed in the Arctic for 200,000 years. They witnessed the emergence of the boreal forest after the last ice age. The boreal forest that circles below the high Arctic reaches its limit here at the southern edges of Ungava Bay. In this low, rolling country, the transition from forest to tundra is gradual. Although maps show the limit of the forest as a rigid tree line, there's no such thing. Sporadic clumps of spruce, aspen, or larch grasp the thin soil where they can until no more grow. As the trees become more sparse, bedrock appears through the thin crust of earth. This is the immense Canadian Shield, North America's underlying foundation of rock. These are among the most ancient rocks on Earth. Some are 3 billion years old. There used to be mountains here. They were eroded over thousands of years by massive glaciers. The Laurentide ice sheet retreated here 8,000 years ago. But its effects still form the landscape, which even today is rebounding from the loss of its massive weight. The mighty ice reduced mountains to rubble and scraped the land clean. The ice sheet left behind these raised ridges of loose sand and gravel called eskers that trace the roots of ancient streams of meltwater. The well-drained surface and the sheltering sides encourage the tough plants that grow here. The Arctic tundra is extremely cold, a treeless landscape with a growing season barely a month long. It's fall on the Koksoak River, the largest in Nunavik. The river's massive drainage basin is larger than Greece. It's calm now, but in early summer, when snow and ice melt along the shores, the river surges to its tumultuous maximum flow. Salmon that spawned here a few weeks ago have left for Ungava Bay or beyond to the Arctic Ocean. A hoofprint in the moss and a tuft of fur snagged on a dwarf birch are signs a muskox has passed through here. The Inuit call this fur kiviut, the soft, dense underlayer of a muskox coat. This thermal underwear enabled musk oxen to survive the Ice Age. Kiviut is the warmest animal fur on Earth. It's stronger than sheep's wool and softer than cashmere. It's time for creatures that came here in spring to mate and give birth to migrate back south. On a passage from further north, Canada geese rest here. They mass on lakes and ponds before taking off again for the southern United States. As sunlight decreases and temperatures drop, the plants darken. These bearberry leaves take on the ruddy shades of fall. They will survive the Arctic winter because they need few nutrients and have silky hairs to keep them warm. A carpet of lichens covers the well-drained parts of the tundra and helps to feed the muskoxen. Lichen is unique. It's one species formed by a partnership between two, fungus and alga. Deeply intertwined, the fungus provides the framework, while the alga provides nutrients through photosynthesis. They can survive for hundreds of years and spread by fragments breaking off and blowing away. One tiny piece contains both components. The blending of the two species is still not entirely understood. It remains an Arctic secret. Nestled among the lichen is Labrador tea. Northerners use it to make a tonic rich in vitamin C and to spice meat. Its thick, leathery leaves and woolly hairs conserve moisture. Mushrooms are vital to tundra plants. Underground, the mushroom intertwines with plant roots and feeds them nutrients, especially nitrogen. The ptarmigan spends fall's shortening days eating plants and berries in a hurry. Like all wildlife that winters in Nunavik, it's fattening up for the hardship ahead. It also eats tiny pebbles that help digest tough, twiggy plants. Its guttural, rattling growl is a characteristic sound of the tundra. The ptarmigan's coloring merges with tundra plants and disguises it well from predators, such as Arctic foxes and bald eagles. To stay camouflaged in the winter landscape, ptarmigan plumage transforms to snowy white. Molting begins now in the fall. It sheds brown feathers to grow white ones. Its feathered legs and toes help it walk on the snow like snowshoes and keep it warm. This transformation must be delicately timed to the change of season. A brown bird can be picked off from a snowy landscape. If it turns white when the ground is brown, it will be too visible. Climate change is making the ptarmigan's life more precarious. In recent years, summer has lasted longer. The seasons have also fluctuated unpredictably. This tributary of the Coxswack River has its source high on a hillside. Here is true wilderness, hard to reach on foot. The water cascades down through a series of falls and rapids. Nunavik forms almost a third of the province of Quebec, which holds 3% of the world's fresh water. Much of it flows in these northern rivers. This region receives little rain and only some snow. The snow that does fall accumulates on the ground and doesn't melt for most of the year. When the weather warms and the snow melts, the water can't sink far into the ground before hitting permafrost and bedrock, so it runs directly into the rivers. This waterfall cuts through the rock of the Canadian Shield. The cliff-top trees latch on to meager inches of topsoil. In spring, salmon returning to their spawning grounds must forge their way up these rapids and over these rocks. It's a journey that takes several weeks. The fish will travel at least 60 miles and climb almost 1,000 feet in elevation. There are no roads in Nunavik. The air and waterways are lifelines. People here depend on bush pilots, like Johnny May. He supplies scattered camps and has flown many missions for medical emergencies. A workhorse bush plane, like this Turbo Otter, is built for short takeoffs and landings and for handling rough weather. It can be as hardy and enduring as Johnny. With proper maintenance, a bush plane can fly for as long as him, more than half a century. Today, Johnny is delivering supplies to a camp in the wilderness on the Coxswack River. This camp welcomes eco-tourists from as far as New Zealand to observe Nunavik's exotic wildlife and extraordinary landscape. Thomas Gruning is a guide with the camp. He's on the lookout for muskoxen to show the visitors. Muskoxen can be unpredictable and dangerous if they're surprised. He carries a gun for protection. Muskoxen have roamed the Arctic since prehistoric times. But in the 1800s, they became a threatened species. Hunters shot muskoxen for sport and for their meat and fur. They were easy to pick off because of their habit, when threatened, of backing together to form a circle, horns out, shielding the young in the middle. Populations started recovering when hunting was regulated during the last century. Males and females both have horns that are sharp enough to cut through ice to reach underlying forage. With the weight of a 450 to 650 pound adult muskox behind them, the horns make a fearsome weapon against predators such as wolves. The female has smaller horns with pale hair on her forehead between them. The horns on the male are joined across his forehead with a thick, bony plate called a boss. This protects his skull when he locks horns during mating conflicts, competing for female attention. The horns start growing from infancy, are never shed, and keep growing throughout life. Unusual changes in the weather can devastate the herd. In freakish midwinter thaws, snow melts, then quickly freezes to thick ice. It blocks muskoxen from foraging for leaves and grasses. They starve to death. Their carcasses have been found on sea ice, where they wandered, searching and digging for food. Rivers are the highways of the North. Junior May is the bush pilot's son. He and his wife, Sapina Snowball, are traveling on the Coxswack River. It's trickier than it looks. An hour from Ungava Bay, the water is influenced by tides from the Arctic Ocean. River tides here are some of the highest in the world. At low tide, Junior has to be careful not to run aground on the sharp rocks.
Must be a female in heat.
They're on an expedition to pick berries. Junior and Sapina are heading for a small island where the berries are rumored to be good this year.
Hello, boys. Hello, Odin.
A friend of theirs keeps his sled dogs here for the summer. Canadian Inuit dogs have roots dating back 4,000 years, when they were bred for strength and endurance. They partner with Inuit people in hunting and hauling supplies, and protect them against polar bears. In summer and fall, people in the north often keep their dogs on small islands to roam free, and return every few days to bring them food. Junior brings his gun because there are unexpected visitors here. Three young musk oxen have swum to the island. Their coats are glossy and look freshly washed, suggesting they swam here recently. While Junior stands guard, Supina heads for the berry patches at the top of the island. Berries are the only fruit that grow in the Arctic, and among the few wild plants edible for humans. There are some roots and leaves, but no vegetables. Supina will freeze or dry some to last through winter. Food imported from the south is expensive, so people in the north take advantage of what grows in the wild. They call it country food. Today, Supina is looking for sweet, juicy cloudberries, but others are native here too. Blueberries, crowberries, and cranberries. The cloudberry is a member of the rose family. There are male and female plants. The females bear the fruit. Cloudberries can survive far below freezing, but they do need damp soil, thriving in the springy tundra and patches between the rocks of the shield. It can be difficult to find berries in the open spaces of the tundra. Families pass down knowledge of where they grow through generations, sometimes as carefully guarded secrets. They need to understand the land and weather well, too. The places where the berries flourish can vary from year to year. After heavy rain, the berries may grow where they didn't the summer before, and a patch that previously flourished may be barren. Supina's timing is good. The berries are perfectly ripe. In a few days, they'll be spoiled. The island's shoreline reveals the gigantic slab of rock underlying the slender layer of soil where the cloudberries grow. On the shores of Ungava Bay, an amphibious habitat thrives, fed by the dynamic movement of tides over the sand, which is rich in nutrients. At the northwestern tip of Ungava Bay, the low tide reveals multitudes of a creature that stays put as the sea comes and goes. Blue mussels flourish in this intertidal zone, a marine ecosystem that is regularly exposed to air. The mussels, called uvuluk by the Inuit, survive the freezing months of winter. Ungava Bay is free of ice for only 4 months of summer and fall. The rest of the year, it's covered. They're easiest to pick at leisure during a full moon, when the tide stays out longest. The mussel creeps along the rocks on a rubbery foot and anchors itself in place with a group of filaments called byssal threads, more commonly known as the beard. The mussel releases the threads as a liquid that hardens in contact with water. Growth rings on the shell reveal the mussel's age, which can be up to 5 years. They're a gregarious species and will link themselves together in groups by their byssal threads. When the tide is in, the mussel feeds, sucking in water and filtering it for nutrients, then expelling the remains. The probing foot seeks a new spot to feed. Kelp also grows here. Like the blue mussel, it flourishes in shallow coastal waters. It survives on photosynthesis, so needs to be reached by sunlight. The mussels thrive, living among the kelp, consuming the detritus when it decomposes. Locals have a few hours of low tide to pick mussels before the water sweeps back in. Bertha Adams and her husband Adami Kalula live nearby in the small village of Huaktok and often walk over to collect mussels. Bertha carries their little boy Adner in an amauti, a parka with a pouch for carrying a baby, traditional among Eastern Arctic women. She can draw the hood over them both in colder weather. Harvesting mussels requires ripping the tenacious beard from the rock.
When I take one, you know, it's like you get addicted to it.
These are among the cleanest mussels in the world, but it can still be risky to eat them raw. Adami's been doing it for years and has built an immunity to the pathogens that may lurk in the flesh. Mussels are plentiful now after spring mating and summer maturing. They're a prolific species. An average female has 7 million offspring. But in an exposed site like this, most will die in a year, easy prey for shorebirds. The weather can change quickly here. Adami and Bertha must keep an eye on the sky as they forage. Today, they are lucky. The fog lifts and their passage home is clear. These icebergs may have been traveling for as long as 2 years, for thousands of nautical miles from their calving ground. They most likely split off one of Greenland's massive glaciers. They've drifted on ocean currents, 80% of their bulk underwater. The rhythmic action of waves causes an iceberg to vibrate, sometimes so much it can become unstable and overturn without warning. Their journey has now ended, here on the shallow banks of Ungava Bay, where they have run aground. If the high tide doesn't take them back out to sea, they will waste away here as the ocean's salt water erodes and breaks the freshwater ice. Their shape is defined by warm air above the sea, the frigid water below, and by the bedrock they scraped along. The end of the Arctic summer brings its rewards. As the nights grow darker, the spectacle of the aurora borealis, the northern lights, grows brighter. Blasts of spiraling wind from the sun, carrying charged particles, are drawn to the magnetic pole. Collisions between the Earth's magnetic field and the solar wind, colored by gases in our upper atmosphere, bring us the dancing light. The glimmering display has fired human imagination. For some, it's made by torches carried by souls caught between the heavens and an abyss. Some say if you whistle at the lights, you will suffer calamity. Others believe that if you whistle, they will dance for you. The sun rises lower in the sky each morning. The days grow shorter and muskoxen gather. They've been scattered across the tundra in smaller herds. Some of only cows and calves, some only bachelors. Now they are readying for winter, driven by two primal urges: to eat and to mate. This patrolling bull seems to lead the herd, encouraging the others towards fresh pastures. They need to feed intensively in the next few weeks before they must dig through snow and ice for forage. Muskoxen excel at conserving their energy. They have a low metabolic rate that drops by more than half in winter. A mother still nursing a calf needs enough fat to support them both through 6 months of freezing temperatures. If a cow becomes pregnant, she'll need to nourish the growing calf, which will be born when the snow is still on the ground. The mating season lasts for a couple of months, throughout July and August. During that time, a bull at his peak, aged 6 to 8, impregnates as many cows as he can. This bull is keen to maintain his dominance. Again and again, he drives away rivals and keeps fertile cows nearby. Females give birth every 2 or 3 years and aren't fertile in between. They tend not to broadcast their fertility as other female animals do, so the bull has to keep trying his luck, often with little encouragement. The bull can reach near exhaustion, battling with rivals and striving to mate. At the end of the fall and the mating season, the muskoxen will gather in bigger herds to weather the winter together. Lena Ezekiel and Bertha Adams are skilled in one of the oldest forms of music, throat singing. The women of this land know how to sing more than one note at a time and have harmonized for generations to sing babies to sleep or play a game. Two women standing in an embrace, often improvising, challenge one another to be the first to break down with exhaustion or laughter. In their voices, you can hear echoes of the ptarmigan's rattle, the muskox's growl, and the breath of the wind. As they have since prehistoric times, the muskoxen browse the tundra. They've evolved to match this rugged landscape and climate. The muskox may have outlived the woolly mammoth here, but populations in other parts of the world did not survive so long. 60,000-year-old samples of muskox DNA have been discovered in regions where they died out. It's been found that muskoxen are vulnerable to climate warming, as has been happening here in the Arctic in recent years. For now, the muskox hunkers down for the winter, slipping its body into the rhythms of the changing season. It may seem austere, but for them, the Arctic is a land of plenty.